Hello and welcome to Viewpoint. I'm Rahim Rahimtullah. Joining me today is Evgeniya Andriyuk of NGO Crimea SOS. Evgeniya, many thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit more about your organisation, Crimea SOS, an NGO which was founded, I suppose, March 2014, it must have been, around that time when Russia invaded the Crimean Peninsula.
Yeah, happened even a bit earlier. So Crimea SOS was initiated on 27 February 2014, so by 3 Crimean Tatars, who all of them they were living in the mainland for a number of years, and they all were quite known in the areas of activities of their work. It was Evgeniya, who is now chief editor of Ukrainian Pravda. At those times, she was editor of Hub's edition. It was Tamila Tasheva. She was a music producer of TIK group music band.
Okay.
And it was Alim Aliyev, his media consultant of Promova company. So all of them realized on 27 February that they had no idea what was going on in Crimea. And they realized if they had no idea what was going on in Crimea, probably no one had any information.
Right.
So the initial idea was just to form the information platform where they would share and report the timely and objective information on situation in Crimea. So we started like on 27 February, the same day we had a Facebook page, and then it grew up immediately. We became more than an information platform. We started just to share information, to draw public attention, sometimes to coordinate activists in Crimea. You know, we were reporting that those military base, for example, is seized, and people were going to this military base. There were journalists who were coming over there. Then we had a short period of time when we started to help military blocked in Crimea, so we were providing them with many of those military supplies that is now quite widespread in Ukraine.
Yes.
But then on the 3rd of March, we had a first IDP family, internal displaced persons family
3rd of
coming.
March already.
It was 3rd of March. We hosted first family here in Kiev.
Okay.
Then in April we started.
Sorry, so the 27th of February, was that the day then? Was this like the first day that Russian unmarked Russian troops appeared in the Crimean Peninsula,
it was
or did you already have an idea that this was
the first troops probably appeared on 26th February.
Okay.
But on 27 February it was registered there have been tanks of Russian Federation, and it was a day when the building of the Verkhovna Rada of Crimea and the building of Council of Ministers was blocked, was seized, and it was the day when the members of Crimean Parliament were forced to come to the session, and they voted for Sergei Aksyonov as the Prime Minister of Crimea,
this is the
and for referendum,
leader.
and for organization of referendum. So from our side, we normally say that it's the first day of occupation. However, some people would say that it's even started earlier, from the 20th of February. It could be with so-called election of the popular mayor of Sevastopol. So I mean, it could be different, but normally it's the first day when all the military action started.
Yes. And now the current situation there. I mean, it's been about 2 years now. Describe for us a little bit the evolution of the NGO. I mean, I assume what we've seen and what we continue to see there is repression from the Kremlin-backed authorities. We've had recently reports that the Mejlis, the Crimean Tatar self-governing body, has been threatened with closure. I mean, it's been threatened with closure for a long time, I suppose. Yeah,
so basically, as for NGO, we've furthermore developed also not only working with Crimean issues and Crimean IDPs, but also with people coming from Eastern Ukraine who were asking us for help, and we could not deny, and we see very much interlinked general situation in Crimean Eastern Ukraine. So as for NGO, we developed very much both as an agency who provide both humanitarian aid, legal aid, and more long-term assistance to IDPs, but also the other main field of our work is Crimea. So many of our activists also do not prohibited officially to go to Crimea, but for sure it's very dangerous for them to go to Crimea. So that's why we have problems like working physically in Peninsula. However, we monitor the situation both with human rights and general situation. We have now analytical resource where we publish mainly analytical information what's going on.
How often are you able to get into Crimea, if at all?
So sometimes some people who are our volunteers or who connected with Crimea SOS, sometimes they go into the missions to Crimea, but once again we do not publish this information and we do not report on that.
So do you have people, for example, who were sort of born and raised in Crimea, who have left and come to the mainland, but they are still trying to...
Those who are not involved in more public activities, those who are not involved publicly, who are not publicly saying and connecting themselves with Crimea SOS or any other activities
yes.
around Crimea. So these people are going, and that's why we always keep this confidentiality of those people who keep going to Crimea. But
yes.
also for sure we are working with the people who left in Crimea, but also under a lot of security measures and confidential measures. But for sure, we have people with whom we are connected.
Sure. I mean, so this is all volunteer efforts, is it? I mean, these are people. I mean, simply they're doing this sort of work simply out of a sense of. I mean, I assume sort of patriotism. And they want Crimea to return to Ukraine.
As an organization, we developed further, and now we are not simply volunteer initiative, but as we are working almost for 2 years, for sure we need some means of existence, and we now have quite large-scale projects. So for sure we have now we are paid for what we are doing, as it's our main place of work and our main place of activities. However, we also have a large network of volunteers. So there's partly those people who are working with whom we are working, who go to Crimean journalists, who, for example, they got paid for their job as a journalist, while some people for sure are volunteers who are doing their work on volunteer basis, but it depends.
And so, what if we take a specific case, for example, with the Crimean Tatars and the pressure they're under with the Mejlis, how does Crimea SOS sort of step in here? What steps are you taking to try to improve the situation? So
we are working quite closely with Mejlis, and we're supporting them here in the mainland as much as we could. Basically, how we're working in such situations, in such cases, is advocacy at the national, at the international level. We are working quite closely with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, for example, and we provide them information, ask them to react when it's necessary. But also we're meeting with a lot of delegations who came here to Ukraine, of international organizations, and also of foreign countries, for example. Recently we had meetings with a delegation of Turkey who came with official visit, and also of Council of Europe before, and also we're from our side are going to the different places in order to promote and to report on the situation. We also provide for sure regular reports which we send to stakeholders. So we're working on this level to raise awareness of the main stakeholders and to influence them, to encourage them to take the steps to continue put pressure on Russia, and for sure also to analyze the situation and to provide information that this is illegal. So I mean, the banning of Mejlis, it's not simply ridiculous, but you could not imagine anything, I don't know, anything worse. It's simply not possible, because there is a representative body of Crimean Tatars. Crimean Tatars as indigenous peoples, have a right both to self-determination, and also they have a right, in accordance with all the international standards, to have their own representative bodies. So despite Mejlis is not registered as official legal entity either in Russia or in Ukraine, however, it's officially recognized by Ukrainian authorities that there is an officially representative body. So to ban the organization which represents the whole peoples, I mean, for sure, it's quite it's not simply controversial, but it's a violation of anything possible, of any possible norms. So that's why it's very important now, especially in information sphere, to show us information, to report on that, because for sure, Russian propaganda and Russian information sources, they just show that there is extremist organization, that they're just like NGO. However, the situation is absolutely different.
And this Russian line that this is extremist and this sort of thing, this is a pure fabrication in your.
They tried to connect that with the civil blockade of Crimea, and basically based on that, they had their legal suit to ban the Mejlis because they.
Sorry, to interrupt you. So this blockade, you mean how at the border between Ukraine and Crimea, there's Crimean Tatars and some nationalist Ukrainian organizations are stopping goods from coming in.
And now they're accusing Mejlis and members of Mejlis that they're organizing Crimean Tatar battalion, who is standing at the border with Crimea, and that Mejlis is involved also, is cooperating with the Pravy sector, right sector, or other organizations that are prohibited in Russia. And based on that, they proclaim that it's extremist activities. But obviously, it shows that it's basically the position because of the general position of Mejlis, because Mejlis leaders and Mejlis said very clearly for many times that they would never accept the annexation of Crimea. Those body who is very actively promoting different positions, the occupation of Crimea. Moreover, we're afraid that the ban of Mejlis would now cause many repressions against Crimean Tatars, because the ban on Mejlis basically gives it allows to persecute almost every Crimean Tatar,
Yes.
because in those or other way, almost every Crimean Tatar was involved or was connected with Mejlis. I mean, because it's their representative body, so they either participated in the activities or they were electing the leaders.
Yes. So this is a very
give
slippery
right,
slope.
It just gives carte blanche to de facto authorities just to arrest almost everyone.
Yes.
And as we know, last week on the 11th and 12th of February, there have been a wave of new arrests and deterrence, and we see it quite clearly. So now we see that there is the occupation authorities makes all the conditions there in order to make Crimean Tatars, those who are against Russia, to leave Peninsula, or either just to sit and do not do anything with that.
Evgeniya, we're almost out of time, I'm afraid. So finally, just in a word, if you can, what's the way forward here? It seems to me there are sort of two strands. For one, we have the blockade, for example, at the border, and these sort of civil actions. On the other hand, you can appeal to the international community, try to use international law. These two different directions. Where do you feel, ultimately, is the breakthrough going to come from? For
sure, both of these ways should work, and it's both instruments that we should work and promote. However, what is important, very important now, and what we promote is the comprehensive strategy from Ukraine on the occupation of Crimea, and that the government and the whole Ukraine as a country should have very clear vision. What is our attitude to occupied territories, both to eastern Ukraine and to Crimea together? It should be very clearly accepted by everyone here in Ukraine that Crimea is our territory, and therefore, what is our attitude to the people staying there? That we should make the full programs, both for IDPs, but also just for residents of Crimea, to make the conditions for young Crimeans to leave, to come to here to mainland, and, for example, to study, to come to the high institutions here to study. And there is a full number of different programs, but also there should be very comprehensive measures taken first from Ukraine, and then afterwards, for sure, supported by international partners, by international pressure. There is one of the main steps that should be done.
Well, Evgeniya, it sounds like there is still a lot of work to do, but we hope your organisation and others, of course, will be leading the way. We're out of time, unfortunately, but thank you very, very much for coming to speak with us. Thank you. You've been watching Viewpoint. I've been joined by Evgeniya Andriyuk of NGO Crimea SOS. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. Thanks for watching, and do join us again.